Welcome to Special Education Categories, a Historical Reform LLC production in the 5 Minutes or Less series. Today we will be discussing special education categories as categorized by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or the IDEA, which is federal legislation that regulates special education. These are the 13 different categories as defined by the IDEA, and we'll talk about each of them briefly. Please understand that your state may treat these a little differently, so make sure to look into your local school system to see how they incorporate the IDEA. Intellectual disabilities are based on IQ, and the different categories for intellectual disabilities are mild, moderate, severe, and profound. The IQs that I have listed are kind of the average IQs used to determine which category a child falls into, but they vary depending on the state and the locality. EBD, or an emotional and behavior disability, includes things such as psychosis, schizoaffective disorders, which can include bipolar or schizophrenia, but also include things that you may not think of, such as severe depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, or even eating disorders like bulimia and anorexia, if they are so severe that it affects the student's ability to have an appropriate and free education. A traumatic brain injury, or TBI, is an event that caused such severe and traumatic injury to the brain that it no longer operates as it did prior to the accident. For children, this could include many things, including car accidents, sports injuries, or even child abuse in one incident or repeated incidents over time. Other health impairments, or OHI, are disabilities caused by disease, condition, or disorder, or injury. This could include ADD and ADHD, which are the most widely known, but can also include things such as asthma, diabetes, or cancer. In recent years, the IDEA was amended to make autism its own category, and therefore any child on the autism spectrum can receive services as part of the IDEA. Specific learning disability, or SLD, is where the largest percentage of students receive special education services. This is a disability that is not due to intellectual disability, hearing, emotional issues, or any of the other disabilities that we discussed previously or will discuss. These are specific issues that deal with reading, writing, arithmetic, and language, and usually a child that tests in a normal range in one of these may have a specific issue with one of the others. Dyslexia has become a huge issue of controversy within the SLD community, as some states do not allow dyslexia to be considered an SLD and will not provide special education services for dyslexia alone. The biggest confusion between categories for special education are between SLD and SDD, or specific developmental disorder. The definitions are pretty much the same, but the difference is the age range. SDD is primarily diagnosed in children between the ages of 3 and 5 who are just beginning school in preschool and kindergarten, while SLD is often diagnosed in middle school or even in high school age children. That's honestly the best way to know the difference. Orthopedic impairments are impairments of the body that are severe enough to negatively impact educational ability. This does not always mean that there is a mental disability that goes along with the impairment. So children who have physical impairments from cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, or other diseases or diagnoses can also receive special education services. Another category for physical impairments includes visual impairments, and this does not just include students who are completely blind. A student who has glaucoma, cataracts, or is determined to be legally blind can also receive special education services under this category. Students with hearing or auditory impairments can also receive special education services. And this also, for both visual and hearing impairments, means that if a child has some type of assistance with cochlear implants or with glasses, that doesn't mean that they're not able to get services under the IDEA. They still can receive additional things in the classroom, such as larger screens, computers, different handwritten notes in order to make sure that they're successful. If it has significant visual and auditory impairments, then they fall into the category of deaf blindness. A student that falls in the category of multiple disabilities is extremely rare. This is a student who has 2 or more of the different disability categories that we previously discussed, but they both impact the child so greatly that you cannot consider one a primary and one a secondary diagnosis. Many students in special education do have primary and secondary diagnoses, where the primary diagnosis is where they receive the majority of their special education services. So make sure that you understand that these two are not the same. We hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you'll visit our website at historicalreform.com. Also that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube page.